All right, guys, so I don't get pretty crazy with leveling these things. I actually found a pretty easy app on my phone. It's just a surface level like this, okay? And it's got a little bubble level inside of it. And it tells you when you're pretty close to being on. So basically, I find a flat surface like this, and I'll get the rifle to the point where I can see the degrees on it. So right now it's 0.1 degrees. If you have a level top cap, that's 0.2 degrees. I'm not worried about the difference on that. So it's good enough for me. It's good enough for what I'm going to be doing here. I mean, if it was something that I was going to be competing with, I'd try to get it at 0.0 and chase it for 15 minutes. But that's how I do it. It's pretty simple. There's a ton of different ways to zero your reticle to your rifle. You know, level the rifle up. You can backlight it, use a flashlight on a piece of paper. You can use plumb lines and all that. But this is a quick way to do it. You really want it to be level with the rifle itself. Now, as far as tightening these down, so I've already tightened these, but just to show you the pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 18 here, then I'm going to go 18 here. And I worked it up and got it tight first, but like I said, this has already been done. I just finished this up. Always make sure once it clicks over at 18 that you go through back and do it one more time, because you usually get a little more tightening there. And I know this is good to go. It's ready to shoot. The only thing I need to do is bore sight it. I'll just do a rudimentary bore sighting where I'll look through the actual barrel itself. I have it on a vise like this, and I'll have a target out about 100 yards or so, and then I'll just, without touching the rifle, look through the bore, make sure I can see the target, and then I'll look through the scope, and then I'll just adjust it, and that'll get me on paper. From there, I should be able to make a correction with that second shot, and so it's ready to go to the range. We'll see how it does. First off, let's show how I do this rudimentary bore sighting, and so you guys can understand if you haven't ever done this. All right, guys, so in order not to use or to waste any ammo, I haven't fired a single round out of this since I've cleaned it with you guys, but basically what we're gonna do is I've kind of propped the rifle up, and I'm here at 100 yards, and if you guys can see through the bore, I don't know if it'll do this, but I've got it so I can see the target right through the bore. You see that? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come straight up onto the optic, and then hopefully, yeah, we're close. You guys see the center line there? So we're close as far as getting our line of sight in with the target. Paper, I'm just gonna start it off with 55 grain PMC 223 Remington bronze, nothing special. There are no impacts on that paper. This is the first shot since I've put this thing together with you guys in the video, and we'll see what kind of groups we get and we'll get it dialed in. Okay, so the first shot is low and left, but looking at it, I'm going to just assume we're about 8 inches low. So for each click at 100, I'm going to get a 1/4 inch. So if I need to go up about 8 inches or so, then 8 times 4, I'm going to have to come up about 32 clicks at 100 yards, which is quite a bit. But okay, windage was good, but we came up too much. All right, guys, so I got it dialed in on the target with those 55 grain PMCs, and then I just switched to this Defender. I'm going to see how it groups. I'm going to go for a little small 1/2 inch pasty on the target. We'll see what kind of group we get. And as long as we get something that's about a minute, or 1 inch across for like a 3 or a 5 shot group, then we'll see how it does. And I'll show you guys pictures of those targets. So the first initial ones were 55 grain to get it close onto the target. Now I've got it close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the 69 grain because I think 69 will work in this barrel pretty well, and we'll shoot for the little tiny dot in the middle. All right, I don't like to do 3-shot groups. I typically like 5-shot groups. It's better to see the dispersion. So we'll just go ahead and do 5. If you guys have never shot Defender ammunition, they do make some great 223. They're out of Rayford, North Carolina, just outside of Bragg. And they make some pretty good ammo. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for there's that little tiny 1/2 inch pasty. It's in the middle. Let me adjust my parallax. And we'll do 5-shot group. Here we go. All right, guys, that's 5 shots. And the group down there, I'll show you guys pictures of the targets in just a second, but right now all bullets are touching. The group is probably about that big. 5-shot group out of this VTR. That's going to be plenty enough for what I want to do for long range. Now I'm just a little low and a little right. I can make that adjustment in the scope there, you know, because I had to recalibrate it for the 69 grain. I haven't done that yet, but it's close enough. This is plenty good for anything I need to do out to 1,000 yards, but I'm going to show you how you're going to use Strelok, integrate that in with the with your app on your smartphone, and you'll be able to make those corrections using a setup just like this. Okay guys, so I just went down to the 100-yard mark, retrieved the target, and let me tell you, it's pretty darn impressive. Guys, I haven't seen accuracy like this out of some really high-end bolt guns before. So remember, keep in mind, this was a $1,000 or under project is what we've got in it, because I got 6 in the scope, 3 in the rifle, about $70 in the base, and then the Harris I already had, but like I said, you can go with, you know, something similar. You don't have to spend the money on a full-blown Harris. I did shoot the 69 grains for group because I am trying to build this to be a precision rifle. I don't want to shoot 55 PMC if I'm trying to reach targets at 700-800 yards with accuracy. Will it do it? Of course, but it's not going to have a tighter group. Okay, I'm just not going to. I'm not even going to go there because I don't think that's going to do it. It's a full metal jacket instead of being a match round. The ammunition that I was shooting is factory Defender ammunition. I know it's good stuff. I actually helped develop that load for them years ago. It's not a fast round, so I didn't hand load these loads. This is straight from what you can get from them online or in their store, but it's always worked well for me in my ARs, so I just wanted to try that in the bolt gun. So I'm going to have to take it off the stand here. I'm going to show you this group. Now remember I told you I was going to go for the center dot at 100 yards. So let me take this out of the holder, the tripod, and here's the target right there. So you guys can see that 5-shot group. There is a dime for reference. Now the one hole you can see up there, I think it's top, I don't know how it's going to be when it's mirrored. If you see one that's off of the dot, it's the very first round when I was trying to zero this. But those were the 3 targets. There's that 5-shot group with the 69 grainers. Guys, I will take that. That is an impressive group out of a package that I've got less than $1,000 in, including the scope. I also had someone else text or comment earlier, and they asked about, you know, everybody's reference or what's inexpensive. You know, guys, $300 for a rifle, whether you get like a Ruger American or something like that, those can be had for a little over $300. You know, you can get a scope, something like an SWFA or Primary Arms. I actually saw one today on Optics Buy, Sell, and Trade, and it was like $250. So you realistically could do this for about $600-700. Like I said, I just did it with stuff that I had laying around, but it's kind of going to show you that you don't have to have $2,000 or $3,000 to build a precision setup. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go into Strelok, show you guys how that works, and then for part 3 we will go out to long distance range later on this week, and I'll record that and we'll see if we can make those hits. Stay tuned. All right guys, so what I want to do is, now that we've got the rifle zeroed in for 100 yards, we're going to use a program. You can download it. I think they have a free version called Strelok, S-T-R-E-L-O-K. And I've got the Strelok Pro on here. It's got the little star on it, so I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go to this one right here. I'm going to change rifle. I need to build a new rifle, so I'm going to add one. We're going to call this one VTR. Okay, so change rifle, replace with your sample data. So right here, I'm just going to name it VTR. Like I said, this is just a very quick tutorial on how to do this. Twist rate. Guys, we know that we had a twist rate of 1 in 9, so I just put 9 on there. Once we do that, now we've got to do a scope. Now they have a whole list of scopes. I just did a USMC MilDot because that's what was on there. 0 distance, 100 yards, scope height. On that rifle, it was actually about 2.75. Vertical click quarter, MOAs 0.25, 0.25, scope click units. We are in MOAs. And then this reticle is in the front focal plane. It is not. That's the second focal plane scope. The minimum magnification was 8.5. And the maximum magnification is 25. So now that I've got all this in, clear. This one right here actually says ranging magnification. So on a second focal plane scope, you need to check with your manufacturer to know when the reticle is accurate for what power. Okay, a lot of them are max, but sometimes they're half of the max. So our maximum is 25, and I don't know what it is for that one. So I'm going to save. So now we've done that. We've got the data in here for the scope. Now we want to replace the data for the cartridge. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change cartridge. So we're going to replace this with our sample data, and we'll just call it Defender. I'm just going to put DEF, okay? So that'll be short for Defender. That is a 69 grain, so I'm going to go to Bullet Database, okay? When I go to Bullet Database, we're going to go to Vendor Sierra .224. Sorry, I'm going to pick up right where I left off. So the Vendor Sierra 224 caliber, and then what we were shooting was a 69 grain hollow point boat tail Match King. So I'm going to choose this, yes, load this bullet. So now it's got that information in here as far as the bullet length, the diameter, bullet weight. All of that is in here as far as the ballistic coefficient and everything else. You can do G1, G7 drag functions. Honestly, don't worry about it. G1 is fine. G7s are a lot of times when you're getting into the slicker bullets. Bullet speed 2584. You know what? We can use that. I know that it's about 2600. Matter of fact, 2648 is in there. That's good because out of that barrel, it's going to be somewhere around 2650, I would assume, but it doesn't matter. I don't need to worry about that now because I can ballistically true my data once I get out on the long range, okay? So I'm going to save this. I am done. So now on the main screen here, what you're going to see is distance, 185 yards, because that's what the distance is to that little man still that I'm going to shoot in just a second. So 185 yards, I'm not really worried about the slope angle degrees. We are about 7 degrees off, or 7 degrees down slope, not enough to make that much of a difference. So if I hit calculate, you're going to see right here, 1.36 MOAs. Because it is an MOA scope, so I'm looking at 1 point, and I either have to choose 1.25 or I can choose the 1.50. So I'm just going to go with the 136. I'll take that shot here in just a minute. So if I wanted to, I could go to the reticle here. I don't use this function often, but it can show you where you can calibrate and then do your holds for those distances on the mil dots themselves. Give you a rough idea. You can also change the size of it depending on the magnification. You can change your targets and all this other stuff in the settings. I don't really use that function that much. Weather, this is important for those of you guys that don't have a Kestrel or something like that. You can always go in here, your temperature. It's not 66 out here, so I'll go to Meteo, and what it'll do is it'll go from a station pressure, the closest one it can get, and I'll say use these values. So right now it's about 79 degrees. Here's the humidity. This was last recorded, and I'm going to save. And this is going to give me a correction one way or another depending on the distance. This is for moving targets here on the left. We're not using any of that. This one here, this one's actually for additional data if you want to know the sound speed and all this other stuff. It's stuff that I don't really use. This is for multiple target engagements or target list. I do use this one quite a bit. This right here is your drop chart, okay? So 100 all the way to 800, you can see we're going to be going transonic at around 700 yards. That's okay. I can also change my settings here because I don't like 100-yard steps, because what if my target's at 625? So I'll just say we're going to do 1,000 yards as our final distance. We're going to do our step at every 25 yards. You could do 10 or whatever. And all I really want on there is bullet speed, and I'm in MOAs. So I'm going to save, and guys, here's the data. Now, it's kind of rudimentary. However, you just have to remember that if I take a shot at 500 yards and it calls for 13.89 MOAs, but I shoot it and it ends up being 15 MOAs, then what I can do is go ahead and ballistically true it. 500, we're going to say it's 15 MOAs, calculate, use this speed, 2506. So if I put on here, use this speed, now when I go over here and go to 500, what are you going to see? 15.01, but what it's done is it's corrected all the way down, all the way up. If that speed were correct, like I said, I just pulled it out of the top of my head, it is going to tell you that you're going to go transonic at 600 yards. Okay, so this is a really cool program. It does interface with Bluetooth if you wanted to do that for different things. Really cool program that'll work. It'll get you by on what you need to do or get done if you don't have the money to invest in like a Kestrel or something like that. Great app, works very, very well.